Hello, 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 and welcome to Tom Talks Alive, part 2. I'm your host, Heath, voice of Titanium Mike, as you may or may not know, and I am joined, as always, by the man with the plan, or at least we all really hope so, the GM of Southern Tomfoolery, and my good friend, Adam Kelly. How are you today?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited. How are you?
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm also joined by the producer of Tom Talks Alive, and I promise you'll get used to seeing him here every time. I'm talking about Josh Richards.
Hey, man. It's
What's
good to be back. Good to be running this thing again.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I hate doing work. And last but not least, the true star of today's episode, voice of the captain of the Epoch Tracer crew, Madam Ziva herself, the delightful Emily Summerlin.
Hello.
How you doing? How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm super good. Super duper good, in fact. How are you, sir?
Been better.
Oh, baby, why? Oh, never mind. I know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad moment.
Yeah, we'll get there. But before we move on, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I hope those of you who got the day off enjoyed it, whether you did something fun and exciting or just took a day to recharge the old batteries. As the face of the civil rights, a champion of equality and peaceful protest, the message of Dr. King is just as powerful and relevant today as it was 50 plus years ago. So in the spirit of celebration of the life and the message of Dr. King, I'd like to share with you 3 of my favorite quotes of his. First, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Second, I have decided, oh my goodness.
Holy crap. Is that neighbors? Somebody on the street?
Just some badass. Second quote from Dr. King is, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. And lastly, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. I think I can speak for everybody here when I say, if nothing else, this podcast has shown us the true value of community. And so I encourage all of you, the members of this loving community, to stick with love, to keep moving forward, and to continue the struggle against inequality and hate. Because though it's been over 50 years since the passing of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as we've seen in the last year, we still have a long way to go, and it takes all of us. That said, my good friends, how are you all doing today? What's going on in your lives today?
Till today I'm doing a Tom Talks.
Yeah.
This is
This
Tom
is
Talks
it.
day for me. Yeah.
This is the
yeah.
latter
one
part
thing.
of the day, though.
Yeah. No, I worked. I was kind of glad for a peaceful, calm day. You never know what you're going to get each morning you wake up these days. So I was glad to have a peaceful morning, if not kind of a sad air that hung over the city of New Orleans today.
Ooh, yeah. Well, that should give you an indication as to how I'm doing today, being the biggest Saints fan most of you people know. I watched the game last night, and, you know, the Saints lost, obviously, and that's really a bummer. It's the end of an era for Drew Brees, who really lifted up the city for as long as he has. But the man's had an amazing career, so you got to take solace in that. But I will say, like, I drank, 4 or 5 beers during the game, more as the game went on. But when the game was over, I went home and I went to sleep at 9 o'clock for the first time in probably 5 years. Like, I just said, nope, I'm done. Nothing else fun's going to come of this evening.
Yeah. I mean, it was sad because, it was his last game, supposedly, and probably, and
it is.
And, they lost the playoff game, and they lost pretty ugly. It was pretty bad game for Drew Brees, one of his worst. And it sucks because, like, he's an amazing quarterback that already doesn't get enough credit.
Right.
That he should, But there was all sorts of pictures in the paper this morning of him like looking back with a single tear in his eye and shit, like looking back at the stadium.
Picture of the night.
In the chat, Tyler from MinMax is saying, I honestly started scouring the news for tragedies in NOLA.
Well, I mean, you can find them, but this was the sad news of the day. Don't worry, there was no like
it's
significant.
It's not that fucking serious.
Yeah.
I mean,
Again,
all in all, it's just a football man is retiring. And lost his last game, but I mean, nobody died. So
that's actually the good news.
Yeah, good news is.
Emily, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm sorry, guys. I'm good. I'm doing real good.
As she's wearing the Saints colors, by the way.
I did not even think about it until I saw Heath's hat. I was
just
like,
rubbing it in my
shit.
face.
I was like, this is a clean cardigan. It's what I'm going to put on my body. I didn't really pay attention to the color, so I'm sorry.
It's fine. It is a nice cardigan.
Thanks. It's yellow. I don't know why I did that.
Is it?
Is it really?
It's necessary.
Truly.
Truly. I had a day off, and I played some video games, and what else did I do? Cleaned up a little bit, so it was pretty chill. I liked it. It's good times, man. It's good times. What about you, Joshers? How you?
I'm good. Spent most of the day trying to make sure that this wouldn't explode again.
Appreciate it.
And a little bit of time playing some Call of Duty, just some shooting stuff to kind of blow off some steam. And that's pretty much it. Just getting all this prepped.
Cool. Well, thank you. Looks good as usual.
I tried.
I actually, I'm glad I went to sleep early in my Saints depression, because I volunteered this morning to the University of Southern Mississippi was doing a Martin Luther King Jr. Day thing for the kids. And they had a Zoom call, and a bunch of us volunteered to read a book to that. They had a bunch of kids in the Zoom call, but they also put it on Facebook Live. So
Oh, that's cool.
This was a setup, y'all. He's like, how are y'all doing? What'd you do with your day? Well, let me tell you what I did with my day. I volunteered and read to kids. Cool. Glad you played video games and, worked on Martin Luther King Day. Good job, guys.
I mean,
Good job setting this up.
I mean, to be fair, reading to kids is like literally my day job.
No, that's awesome. That's a good way to spend the day.
Yeah, that is very, very cool.
Yeah, it was nice. And it's funny, like I read this book. It's for, second, third grade kids. But it's called That's Life. And I was like, how appropriate after last night. But because the whole, the message of the book is that life can be tough and life can be messy and you're going to go through trials and tribulations, but it's important to, find joy and find beauty where you can, despite all of that. So I think I needed it as much as they did.
Good.
Okay. So, I'm glad you're all here with us. It's nice to get Emily back in the hot seat here.
In the mix.
It's weird seeing Josh twice in a row for TOMTalks.
Hey,
Why did you agree to this?
Drug.
I don't know. And actually, before we started this, I was like, I really should set up another away, because I've edited the layouts and scenes and stuff, and it was honestly kind of nice being able to turn my camera off last time, but you're stuck with me the whole way through this time. So
What?
deal with it. Yeah.
That is terrible.
Sorry.
It's happening.
Didn't agree to this.
It was one
Heath.
of my stipulations. It was in my rider. He had to be on camera. It was a whole thing. Did you not read my contract? It's fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I see. You big YouTube personality now got too big for britches.
Yeah. Seriously.
So let's jump into some Southern tomfoolery news and kind of the month in review.
Mm-hmm.
I know kind of the biggest thing over the last month is obviously episode 100.
Yeah, we since last time we've done the thing and we shared it with everybody, and so we can talk about it a little bit more now. How did you guys feel about playing shadow characters? What was that like for you guys?
It's like an average Tuesday for me. But whatever, man.
It was different. It was neat, but I got to do an Eeyore type voice, which is fun.
And you're kind of the sleeper hit of episode 100, Josh. You got a lot of Gloombot love.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I hope y'all enjoyed it. The party was great, right? I had a really good time with all of you, with that, listening together and just the pre-show and everything, and gave away some cool stuff. And that was a hell of a party.
That was a good time.
It was. I stayed up way too late and had way too many drinks.
Also, like, did y'all eat y'all's weight in, like, since that episode? Have you eaten your weight in doodly doos? Because, like, I have, and
I don't have any damn doodly doos.
I doodly dooed myself over there and doodly ordered too many.
Yeah, Zach ordered a doodly dozen, and we ate a bunch of them. I gave some to a couple friends, two to my parents, and ordered another dozen. So we've got 12 more sitting on the table right now. They're amazing and wonderful, but I think I'm doodled out.
I'm all doodled out.
I'm all doodled out.
Yeah, I haven't had one, but they do sound very rich.
They're
They
rich.
I was actually commenting to Zach earlier that it tasted like there was a half a stick of butter per cookie.
Oh yeah, at least.
Like
It
they're
was-
super dense.
It's very indulgent, much like our flashbacks. So I think it's appropriate.
That's appropriate. Yeah.
Everything is on brand. It's great. It's super good. Super good.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about episode 100 is that yes, we will meet those characters again. That's not a one-off. So stay tuned. There's definitely some more shadow tomfoolery afoot.
That's the last thing we're gonna say about it. We haven't even talked about it.
Oh, what you got? Hey, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it.
No, I mean, it was cool. It was really refreshing, like getting to, play new characters, but still have tie-ins to like the main show. It's just good to like break up. You play the same character for as long as we have. Like, it's nice to get a little like jolt, by playing something different. And I personally really enjoyed playing the character that I did in all of his vagaries.
I speak in vagaries. Yeah, like I think vagaries. I think that what showed is when you guys came back to the APA characters, you guys seemed really jazzed to play them.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's because you didn't like the shadow characters, but like we left your APA characters right after a level up, going into like a place where you got to test out all your new level up stuff, and then we stopped and we did a whole new characters. So it was, I think it felt kind of like coming home a little bit. Maybe that's the vibe I got when we did 101 anyway. Yeah.
It was just a nice kind of like a little, like a weekend getaway sometimes when you don't go far. You know what I mean? You just go to a hotel. Because if you go too far, then that's just too much work. But if it's just the hotel down the street, that's awesome, man. Please tell me everybody else does that periodically, and I'm not just like broadcasting my weird shit. You know what? Everybody's used to that. Whatever.
Sure. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, what do you think you do every weekend?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Heath, you said you liked playing your character. It's a different kind of character for you.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of Mike for sure.
Right. I mean, full caster, which is fun. I actually like it. I kind of like to live on either end of the spectrum. Like I like to either play like a beat stick, tanky kind of character, or just like go all the way in and just be looking through my spell list the entire time I'm playing.
Right.
The half measures is where I don't really often play.
What'd y'all think about the vehicle combat?
Thought it was interesting.
It was interesting. It was just unfamiliar. It's not something we've done a whole lot, and the kind of distances and stuff get tricky.
It gets a little abstract, I think.
Yeah.
And we were also like kind of pushing our way through it a little bit to trying to keep an eye on time and things like that. And I'd like to dive into them more at some point.
Yeah.
like maybe we could do another Tom Talks and like set up another vehicle chase and kind of dig into it a little bit more.
Because there's a lot of other, things that could be brought into it. Like it's kind of a modular thing, right? Like you can build really cool shit around.
Each zone
vehicle.
can have
Yeah.
Each zone can have different environmental things, and like I think that I was trying to homebrew for the first time while doing mechanics for the first time, and I don't think that I balanced the vehicles properly. I mean, like, because they were doing so much more damage that it immediately became apparent that the vehicle was what you should target. Rather than trying to take out the person on the vehicle.
I mean, if you've watched Star Wars, to shoot the little speeder and not the trooper on top.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess it worked out how it was supposed to.
Everybody knows that. That's common knowledge, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
The chase combat or whatever, vehicle combat, it does make for some really weird turns sometimes. Like, I mean, I got off a shot that was like 200 feet away. It's like, if that happened in real life, like, what a legend.
Right.
It was. Oh, what?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say my production assistant has arrived. So.
Okay.
This is why you don't get the whole camera all the time.
Excuse me. Production assistant. Okay. All right.
Heath, we're in for a long night.
Shouldn't have got these two together.
Here we go, boys.
So yeah, I mean, obviously I don't think we want to dig too much into episode 100, just because in case anybody who is listening hasn't listened to them, we don't want to spoil anything. But what?
I mean, we anything further than what we just did, but
yeah, right. But it was a good time. I really think episode 100 turned out interesting and cool. And it was a good change of pace, and I'm interested to go back to those characters, whenever we get a chance to do that. So after that, we've got some Patreon news or changes. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. And if you'll pardon me one moment, I closed the wrong tab because I'm a professional.
Hey, Emily, Control-Shift-T will open a tab that you recently closed.
Oh my God. Heath, this is going to be a long night.
Yeah.
I don't even it's just witchcraft.
It is.
No. So yes, we've recently made some adjustments to a few of our tiers, and let me see here. Just wait, guys. Just you wait. I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional.
Oh, man.
As you said.
Doing great, Captain.
I'm so good at it.
Doing great.
So why don't you guys talk to me a little bit about what your favorite tier is?
All right, here, I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you.
Get it together.
Emily, while you're looking that up, Heath, talk to us a little bit about how Fight Rock has been going.
It's good. We just did another one this week, actually. Yeah, I mean, I think we've done 7 so far. Brian, again, has done an outstanding job with the helping us develop the system into the level that it's at now, with the extra complexity that it has now. So, I mean, I think from the best I can tell, everyone who's gotten to play it has enjoyed it. It's a unique experience, and it's it's nice to be able to hang out with some of our Patreon folks, and it's equal parts playing a fun like mechanical system and hanging out and shooting the breeze. So yeah, I mean it's been going well.
Do you know your record?
Yeah, I just won again, so I'm 4-3.
4-3. All right. That suggests a pretty balanced game.
Yeah.
Who'd you fight last?
FL in the Discord.
FL, are you out there? You hit us up in Twitch if you're listening. How did that go? What did he play?
He played a Lashunta envoy, who was a former it was like a war-based soap opera actor. So it was an interesting time. His whole story being that he, is a former mid-level celebrity that he quit acting for a while and then decided to get back in the spotlight by boxing Titanium Mike. Like,
wow,
what a bold career choice.
There's no such thing as bad press, guys. Like,
right. But yeah, I mean, he seemed to have a good time. I mean, the fight didn't go his way, but I mean, that's the dice tell the story in Fight Rock,
Yeah.
I did feel bad. He rolled pretty poorly on a few of his rounds. So that always, like, as the guy kind of hosting Fight Rock, it always, like, I almost want to lose every time just so that the person in there feels better, but I'm also like Michael Jordan said, like, I got a competition problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always torn between, like, I want to win, but I want them to win. So
I mean,
All right.
Mike wouldn't pull punches though, would he?
No,
wouldn't.
definitely not.
Oh,
Emily, are you with it?
speaking of Fight Rock.
Oh, okay. Here we go. We got back around. So y'all, this is just a little taste of how it goes when we record every Thursday night. The amount of editing that goes to get us to what you actually hear. So this is just a little peek behind that curtain.
We just want to keep it real. Like, this is TOMTalks alive. Like, shit's alive.
Anything can happen. It's live.
But no, for real though, speaking of Fight Rock, so we've made some recent changes to our Patreon tiers because we have had an amazingly beautiful, wonderful, and we are so very grateful for influx of $10 tiers. We have actually had to reallocate Fight Rock to a higher level tier because there's literally only so much of Heath and Brian to go around to make the Fight Rock matches happen. We had to essentially make the supply meet the demand. So
nailed it.
Reverse it. God, I'm so good at words. So Fight Rock matches are now available at the Pools of Paradise VIP $25 a month tier. But in place of where the Fight Rock was on the $10 tier.
Before you get to that, I just want to interject to clarify that all of you that were eligible prior to this change, you are still in queue for your fight. So nobody who had already been eligible for that is getting screwed. You're still going to get your fight, but we're just any future fights, we just had to bump that up. All right, go ahead.
That is very correct, and thank you very much for making that point. So in place of that on the $10 tier, you will now be able to, if you are at the Apollo Protection Agency Loyalty Agent $10 tier, you will now be able to submit critical fumbles and critical hits for our Fly Free or Die campaign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that is really exciting, and I really can't wait to see what y'all come up with. My advice to you is fuck with Zach as much as you can.
I agree.
But not too much, like, because I do really love the guy, so don't give him an aneurysm. But like, this is your opportunity to put your stamp on some of the combats, and we wanted to have something that was unique to Fly Free or Die.
Yeah.
And so we'd heard some chatter about listeners submitted criticals, and I think that's a great place for it.
I'm excited to see, like Adam said, what you guys come up with. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So encourage you to go ahead and start. If you're at the $10 tier now, go ahead and start submitting those so we can build up a really strong deck before we even start playing. So we're not looking,
And then, aside from that, like, we're just excited that we're going to get the chance to play Fly Free or Die.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Fly Free or Die, BB.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
It's going to be a good time.
It is. Excited. Any other changes? I mean, we do have the $50 and $100 tier, and I guess we've talked about that at some point before.
Yeah. I will just say, you know, the $50 is limited to 15 slots are available. I think we have 14 of it. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to double check. But with that, it's, you know, everything that's available at the previous tiers, as well as you get to sit down with me on a special video call, not in person, where you'll help to design an NPC, monster, or encounter for Hacky Sack Heroes. So you kind of get to be a part of that. And for the $100 slot, the APA affiliate tier, everything listed beforehand, and twice per year STF will run you through an SFS or Pathfinder 2nd Edition scenario. So, yeah. It's good stuff.
SFS being Starfinder Society.
Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
Get to play with us. So
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really excited about both of those. Like to be able to, you know, if we get some more, you know, $100 people to be able to run games for people is always an exciting prospect. But I'm particularly excited to see people creating monsters to put into Hacky Sack Heroes and see what random wackiness that leads us into.
yeah. All right. Well, enough with the STF commercial. What else we got?
So I believe we have nailed down our next guest for STFU. That's Southern Tomfoolery. Is it unlimited or unplugged? I always forget.
Unlimited.
Unlimited. That is not shut the fuck up.
I mean, it kind of is, but yeah,
There's a little bit.
Yeah.
A little column A, a little column B, you know?
Right. So who's our next guest?
Well, producer, I hope you're ready for this.
Oh, I am.
Because our next guest, we're very pleased to announce that the Dice Crisis is going to come join us. We're just going to have a chat. You know, we haven't had the opportunity to speak with them, and they're one of the members of the FFS collective. So we're really looking forward to having Kyle and Allard on the show, and that's going to be coming up. We're going to record that show on the 30th, so likely it will come out either that night or the 31st. So really looking forward to talking to them. They are running Second Darkness, which is actually a pre-1E AP when Paizo was still doing 3.5 adventures.
Wow.
But they have converted it to 1E, which is, you know, this kind of interesting concept. And they do a really good job. Great sound production. They're all audio engineers or musicians or something, you know, so that everybody knows what they're doing with the production. It sounds great. And I'm looking forward to talking to them. So
yeah, well, that's gonna be a good one. How many people are in the Dice Crisis? Don't they have a small party?
they do. It's three-player party and a GM, and they have an occasional fourth player who plays a bard that just comes in whenever he's back home from tour.
They've got their own Tucker McGuire.
They do. Yeah.
Well, that'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all of the sort of businessy stuff out of the way. You guys want to talk about corruptions?
Let's do it. That's the main topic of the evening. Who wants to talk about corruptions?
I'm going to let you guys talk about it. I'm out of here.
I mean, Emily's here. So she corrupts people left, right, and center.
That is not accurate. I just encourage behaviors that might otherwise be considered inappropriate.
Oh,
Sounds
okay.
like
So
exactly what corrupting.
corrupting.
Emily, you and your character has been at the core of this corruption of Signal Screams. I mean, you know, everybody has it, but I think there's no doubt that you have leaned into it the most and also have had the most like emotional response as a player to it as well. Yeah. What are your general thoughts about corruption? I'm curious.
So I this is going to shock you guys, I know, but I really like corruption. The concept of the mechanic itself in role-playing games, and not even just with TTRPGs, like even within, you know, computer or like games, like video games. There we go.
yeah.
All I could think was computer games, but I was like,
Even
other people
within-
play on consoles, Emily, come on.
Even within my computer program.
Y'all know they got viruses in them computers.
Let's hope
no.
not.
But I just love the opportunity that it provides for storytelling, for role play, for just kind of in-game options that you have that you might not otherwise see, and that depending on how you use it, it can just create scenarios and situations that your character would otherwise never willingly put themselves into. I just love the avenues that it opens up. I know, some people don't care for it because depending on how much the boundary is pushed with it, it can look like it's taking player agency. And I think that's that finding that balance between the two is creating an organic sense of just like creating that situation that you would never put your character in. Mm-hmm. And how do you get out of it? How do you move past it? Because sometimes there's not a get out of it. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So I love it all the way around, from like interpersonal communicating with your party level to like the mechanics of it. It just makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you bring up player agency, and there's the other side of that where that, as you said, like for some, that's like, that makes it really unfun. And then, and I do understand that, and I think that with corruption, when you introduce those mechanics to a table, that it's important, as we've said many times before across many different shows, is that you have to have that conversation with your table at the beginning to kind of let them know what's going, because it can get to a point that is intense. And, we talked about before, I'd like you to share a little bit about when it got to that breaking point for you, who's somebody who's like very into it. Like when I first brought this to you, you were excited. Like, you're like, yeah, I'm all into it, and then we got to the moment where there was those consequences of some of your decisions. And, how was that? There was that moment in that session that recorded, I guess it was 98, right? 97 and 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, and I think that this is one of the difficulties of how we play, even, in a pre-pandemic situation, we play virtually. Mm-hmm. And I think had we all been around a physical table, it may have been easier, but there again, it may have been more difficult.
Yeah, maybe not.
Exactly. So, there was a moment, I won't spoil anything, but essentially where Ziva, the character, had done something that could be construed as horrible, depending on who's looking at it and how they're looking at it. And Emily, the human, was trying to differentiate the feelings from my teammates versus the crewmate characters. Like, basically, we're role playing an intense scene, and sometimes, and that's what I love about role play, is that you can get into these situations where it's hard to disconnect your character from yourself, your emotions from your characters. And that's kind of what we hit there. And I mean, we wound up, having to take a break and sort of just talk out, through everything as a table. And I really needed that. And had we not done that, I don't think that the episode would have been, I don't think it would have hit properly. I don't think that I would have been able to kind of deliver the same way. So that's one of the things that I think is, like Adam said, really, really important, is making sure that your table is aware before you go into these kind of scenarios and situations with corruption and just heavy topics in general. Know the boundaries of your team, of your players, for your GM, and know when you need to stop and reconnect with people as people.
Yeah, I think that's important is knowing, and I got to give credit where it's due. Is Zach was the one who said, okay, hey, like, hold on, Emily, are you okay? Because it started getting very visual that Emily was having a hard time continuing to stay in character because all of us as people were like really, feeling this moment and feeling there was like a sense of betrayal that was emanating from the moment. And we could tell that Emily was feeling like she had betrayed her friends, and and Zach was astute enough to notice that and stop us and say, hey, let's talk about it. Like, we're cool, like this is just, this is just the story that's going on. And it's important to have that awareness and I'm glad that there was a player there that aided me in that, because sometimes it's hard for the GM to keep up with what's going on with trying to keep everything together. And I was just thankful to have that assistance there.
But, and I was glad that, we, Zach in particular, but as a group, had the wherewithal to like stop and take a moment or whatever, because I kind of also was, I mean, I don't think I had as much of a difficult time as Emily did, but I felt kind of partially responsible for like her reaction. I felt like I was the straw that broke the camel's back. So like, I think we all needed to like take a minute, and like I needed to assure Emily, like, I know I love you, it's fine. Like we're just playing characters,
I mean, and that's the thing, it only takes like one line delivered in such a real fashion to kind of like snap somebody, like get them out of like the role playing mindset into the, oh my God, like I did something wrong here, didn't I? No. So I was very appreciative that you guys, kind of said, hey, let's take a break. Let's talk this through. And it helped me to sort of re-solidify the scene. Like,
you came
happened.
back. You came back like and delivered a fucking hell of a speech, like, and laid it down, and it was good. And we moved through it and got through it as a group, as friends and as characters and everything. And corruption can lead to those moments, and that's a dangerous game to play if you are irresponsible with it, and I would have been totally dismayed and hated it if we had ended that session and you walked away with it feeling like everybody was mad at you, or that you had made the wrong decisions as a player and as a character, and that like everything was bad, because this game is ultimately supposed to be fun. And it's tough when you do a horror campaign and you do these heavy grimdark episodes because I mean, by design they have an emotional impact, so it is what it is. But corruption is not unique to Starfinder, is it, Heath?
No, it isn't. I'm very targeted.
Well, I mean, you had hands-on experience with it in that 5e game that we did years ago.
You mean Toon?
No. In Taken King.
Storm King.
Taken King.
Storm King. Sorry.
I was like,
I don't know why I've got Destiny on the mind.
Yeah, kinda. I don't know. Fuck.
Well, you had similar moments where you had to make a decision that you knew that your character thought was the right decision, but you as a person knew on a meta level that it was leading to disaster,
Yeah, I basically let my fighter, who is the leader of the party, make a deal with a Kraken. And
Nothing bad can come with deals with other horrors. Like,
right.
Perfectly normal day.
It was, I mean, that was an interesting scenario. I mean, it was more scripted, I will say, like that whole, we had a plan for like how that was going to go down, but it's still like, I had that similar situation of feeling like I had betrayed the party, because I fucking did. Like, it was a lot more clear cut. Like, I did. I made a deal with the bad guy of the big bad of like the whole thing. But, it's something that would have literally fulfilled every desire, not only personally for the character, but like to do good that was within the character. Right. So yeah, it was a big deal. And
I'm
then
good at offering those devil tongue deals to my players.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
yeah. You definitely are. And that one, like, there was a lot that went into that one, because not only did I make the deal or whatever, I had to write the scene in which he made the deal. And like, that was a whole nother level of like, okay, how do I make myself not look like an asshole? How do I make this believable? And then he died, because of those actions, and came back as a paladin, which was really interesting. And I got to play a paladin for all of like 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then that was that.
Yeah, I will say, speaking of, I mean, it's another 5e thing. I don't think it's not technically corruption, but in Tomb of Annihilation, that's why I thought that's what Josh was talking about. There's a system of like gods, or like minor gods, that you like kind of make pacts with that inhabit you, and you get, and it's not a corruption system, but it very much feels like mechanically.
Right, you get a boon, but you get like some sort of negative effect
Same.
from it.
Yeah. Same with curse.
Right.
Curse definitely has the corruption with the dark gifts.
Which that one, I came out like a bandit on that one, because I made a pact with the like minor god to where I couldn't take falling damage, and I was a wizard who had the fly
good
spell.
Lord.
So I just flew around everywhere. I cheesed a couple of Adam's encounters. Literally, there was one point.
Not mine.
Or Zach.
Yeah,
Wait.
Zach. Yeah.
No, it was Jabble.
No,
you were thinking about Tomb, but
you said curse. I'm sorry.
Did I say curse? Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I knew you meant Jabble though.
Yeah, I definitely did. But yeah, no, I cheesed a couple of Adam's encounters with that, because like there was a point where like the entire party got knocked out, and Jabble just like cast fly and ran around and like killed everybody with cantrips because they couldn't get to him.
Like a real dick.
I mean, I saved everyone's life.
I mean, thanks, but
and I mean minor, like lesser, not like these were gods of mining.
These
and
were
not like
gods
underage gods.
These were gods of sad sounding chords.
Yes, that one.
Right. Adam and I actually just got a chance to start playing a little bit of Delta Green, and that's a system that kind of has a corruption or like sanity system like baked into it. Granted,
it's like one of your main core player stats.
It's almost like an HP type thing. Like, it's that important.
Yeah, it's its own bar,
Right, yeah. But we just started doing that one, so we haven't like gotten into the mechanics of it, but I am looking forward to seeing how that works.
I mean, hell, but you lose sanity points in character creation.
You can. I was the one that didn't, because I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm keeping my sanity.
Yeah, Brian was like, oh, just tell me some things about your character. What happened here? What happened here? And we're like, yeah, we saw this or did this. Okay, cool. Go ahead and take 20 points off your sanity before we even start playing. I was like, oh, shit.
That's why I made the most like well-adjusted, like reasonable character I could. Like, no, he doesn't have any trauma in his backstory.
But though, on the flip side, and this probably is up to GM discretion, those who have seen it and been around it before may be more resilient to it in the future.
Well, that's how it balances out in the system. So like if you have a decrease in sanity, you get like a boost towards some sort of like, you have this experience that so you're a little bit more resilient to it. I mean, it's a really cool way that Delta Green lays it out, and it's based on what Call of Cthulhu, right? It's just a modernized Call of Cthulhu. Right. And I mean, I can't wait to get into more of that. We were like just getting into the investigative stuff. So, we haven't,
We haven't run into
met our
enemy
death yet.
Yeah, well, we haven't run into any like enemies whatsoever.
No, well, we haven't even got into like where the shit happened. We're just still going through the dossier, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we basically did a session 0 and session 1. You know, so that'll be fun moving forward. But I do want to go kind of back to a point that Emily was making about corruption. Insofar as we've experienced it being potentially a loss of player agency. I've got on my sheet, is it a removal of player agency? And I think, like, you know, generally speaking, like, no, because like it at least corruption in the sense of kind of Starfinder or whatever, like it is if you let yourself get fully corrupted, like that you know that's going to be a loss of player agency because you lose your character. But I do think it's a little more complicated than that. I know, like Emily, for instance, like really loves and is interested in the corruption system, but did bring up that, you know, as I think even Tyler said in the chat earlier, you know, you're looking for, ideally, you want creativity within constraints. That's what corruption is supposed to do for you. And I kind of flip-flop back and forth on it a little bit. I think I love limitations breeding creativity as the concept. That's something that I like about TTRPGs in general. I do find corruptions difficult for me though, because like I'm the kind of person when I'm playing a character and really want to, you know, get into a character, I do my best work when I am so familiar with that character that I know exactly what they would do at all times, you know? And that's like where I've been with Mike for the longest time. It's like I've played that character so long, like I know what his opinion on something would be without even thinking about it. And corruption really makes you question that, right? It makes you like, oh, well, would I do that? And I think that's what can be frustrating for me is like, I've already gotten so familiar and so comfortable with a character that, I mean, obviously the goal is to take you outside of your comfort zone, but I don't fucking like it sometimes, to be honest, because I mean, I feel like it divides my mind. Like I'm trying to play my character like I know how to, but then I'm also trying to like scour the situations emotionally and like, okay, what would I do differently? You know, and then also like looking through my sheet to make sure I'm doing my like corruption bonuses and everything. It's a little bit more work, but I think the more important factor for me that can be a little off-putting is that those limitations, you know, take away what I'm used to, you know?
Josh, since you decided to be the second guest as your own choice, what do you think about corruption?
I actually like them as a mechanic. In, you know, falling back to what Tyler said again, you know, having constraints can lead to so many more creative decisions for a character or as a player, and spurs more and potentially better role playing because it gets you out of your comfort zone. You know, those corruptions can make it to where you're put into a situation that your character otherwise would not be in, and you have to react accordingly, or rather act accordingly if you're, you know, role playing properly. And I like it. I mean, I haven't had any major issues, I think, doing it with Fel. It's occasionally easy to forget that about Fel's corruption, but I think Fel himself likely would too, because he's just him doing his thing. You know, it's mostly a physical thing for him. It's nothing behavior related yet. So
I was just gonna say, give it time.
I think that can be where it really starts to become difficult for some people, is when it is a behavior thing. Like you are inclined to behave in this way that you wouldn't normally behave. And I think that's kind of where I run into issues. Is like, you know, like, okay, I know this is like, these are things maybe he would do in certain situations, but I wouldn't normally, but I should here. So it's like, it's always looking for a way to insert what your corruption says you should do. And that can be very uncomfortable because it's like the corruptions usually aren't trying to make you behave in a better way. You know?
no.
I will say this, and I think that it may not be completely on subtopic, but I would not, personally as a GM, I would not introduce corruptions to a new player.
No.
Yeah, I think it's too much to ask too soon. Like maybe like if they're starting at first level, by the time they hit like 5th level, maybe then start to introduce it. But like a fresh, straight out the gate, never really played any TTRPGs before, I just don't think that I would ask them to take that on. It's just,
It's a lot,
yeah.
And it's like willingly saying, okay, I don't get to do the cool thing with my character that I want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I completely agree with that. Because a lot of the time corruptions force you to like do uncomfortable things. Like the behavior related corruptions make you interact in social situations in ways that are less comfortable than you normally would be. That can be really off-putting to a new player.
So what advice would you give to a new player? Maybe they've had a chance to play a game and like, okay, well, now we're going to do a game where corruption is a possibility. What advice would you each give to a player, knowing what you know now, having some different experience with corruption, how to approach it in a way where it's still fun?
I mean, on top of the like not doing it for a new player as a general rule of thumb, I would also say like you need to really know your party and be friends with them, because like as good friends as we are, as long as we've been playing together, like this, we've had situations like we talked about with Emily and needing to take a break and like collect ourselves. So if you are relatively new and are insisting on doing corruptions, like I would say you really need to like maybe go back and have another session 0.
Yeah.
Go back and have a talk and be like these are the realities of what can happen, and this can feel icky and feel uncomfortable, and you really got to emphasize separating your player and your character.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do that?
I don't. I'm just a big muscle bound winning machine. It can be tough, man. It really can. But I mean, mostly it comes from my respect for you guys. Like that's the easiest way for me to separate. Is like, well, maybe my character would do this asshole thing that like I would never say to you guys. And those situations are very, I think, easier for me personally, because I'm like, well, this is very obviously not something Heath would say to you.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say I've dealt a little bit with this in the Curse of Strahd game that Emily's running, in 5e, and I just kind of leaned into it. I've as far as advice for a new player, just realize that it's not you, the people that you're talking to that way through your character. You're not talking to your friends, you're talking to their characters. You have to be able to put a wall in between yourself and your character and the other players and the GM and their characters. You have to be able to compartmentalize. And if you can't, then maybe it's not something that would be a good idea to try to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think as much as I hate for things to go back to like the GM needs to make the hard choices here, like I do think to some degree, like if a GM is considering corruptions as a mechanic in his games, he needs to take a good hard look in the mirror and a good hard look at his party and say like, okay, is this something they're going to react well to? Is this something they're emotionally stable enough for? Something they're ready for? And is this something I'm not going to abuse or exploit to the point that's going to piss them off and make them not want to play this game?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think another kind of aspect apart from excuse me, just table makeup, etiquette, session 0 kind of stuff. I think one thing that I would suggest to like a new player is working on not only, setting up those boundaries with yourself and with your GM, with your players, but set up the scene. Try and work on being in the mindset of that corrupted character. because you could have, X amount of levels that you, like Heath said, you've spent building this character that has a certain mindset. And then when the corruption effects come in and you're supposed to change certain aspects of your behavior, or certain, physical traits change about you, or how you act in battle, creating a scene in your head, or at least this is my very personal suggestion. I have a weird scene in my head of Ziva in like this man in the middle kind of room. And on one side of the room, or on either side of the room, are double-sided glass, And on one side of the glass is a completely uncorrupted Ziva, and on the other is a completely corrupted Ziva. And I like to kind of play a situation and say, how would this one react? How would this one react? And then I kind of split the difference with the actual character that I'm playing at the time. So kind of creating anchor points, I guess, in your mind of what the character would do. So you can sort of set those boundaries.
Well, that's a way to, what you're basically describing is a good trick, I think, to visualize what is a spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I think that's excellent advice. Yeah.
Here are my two extremes. Mm-hmm. Now, I probably don't want to do either of those, right? I want to be somewhere in the middle most of the time if I have a corruption, right?
Exactly. So, and reading into things, or reading up on things rather, or, watching movies, get yourself in the right headspace for what these corruptions could look like, how you could respond to them in a scene. I think just kind of getting yourself in that headspace to go and play the game is really helpful. Like Adam suggested some really good reading and some good movies before we ever started Signal of Screams, and it really helped me kind of like set up some expectations and things that I was like, if this happens, I would like to try and squirrel this in, so I like preparing, getting yourself in that mindset. I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, that does lead me to my next question, which was, and you kind of answered it a little bit for yourself, but I have kind of a twofold question. First, do you guys as players, I don't mean to exclude you, Adam, but you've played as other characters, so this could work for you, I guess, as well. But do you guys have any like rituals or particular things that you do to get into character before a recording session, like in general? But then also, do you have those things for getting in the mindset of a corrupted PC?
No, I'm going to be a bummer and say not really.
Okay.
When I sit down and start talking to the other PCs, it just kind of happens. Or talking to an NPC, Fel is, I think a lot of it has to do with Fel being very close to who I am.
Right. That's what I was thinking as well. It's like you
so
have
it's
a similar kind of job and backstory.
It's not too far removed from myself, so I don't really have to. For one that's a little bit more in depth or different than me. I don't want to say Fel's not in depth, but I don't know. I guess we'll see when that happens.
I'll answer it from a GM's perspective. Like the night that we recorded the heavy corruption episodes, I recorded that episode in the dark with a hoodie on, and because I had to separate myself as y'all's friend a little bit to run that, because it was a shitty situation.
It wasn't to increase the creepiness at all.
That's part of it, but it helped get me in the mindset, to be able to execute that session,
Yeah.
Emily, you got any rituals, anything you do to play Ziva? Normal. Well, you've mentioned the two extremes. You know, do you have different rituals for each of those, for corrupted Ziva versus normal Ziva, or do you have any rituals at all? Or are you just like a champ like Josh here, and you just jump in and kill it every time?
No, I am not a champ. So if we're doing anything, this is so stupid. If we're doing anything that I know is going to, like, beforehand, if I know we're going into a situation where Ziva's going to have to talk and be very, madam about it, very captain. I have a pair, I call them my badass boots. They're like 7-inch, like super chunky heel, like they're like combat boots from hell, and
They're
I
like
love them.
cyber goth boots.
Yeah, I love them. So if I know that we're going into a scene like where she needs to be boss bitch, I'll put on my bad bitch boots. And it just helps me kind of get in that headspace. If I know that we're doing corruption, like heavy, like Adam said, with the heavy corruption, before a session, I'll just stand in front of the mirror and like do creepy faces, like try and make myself uncomfortable with my own face, like really wide eyes or contorted smiles. I just try and freak myself out mostly. So that's me.
No, that's great. I knew you would have rituals. I was just, or you would have something that you did, and I was banking on that. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have asked the question. I think for my own part, like normal Mike, as different as we are physically, like I think there's a lot of truth to who I am within normal Mike, like just his general demeanor and like tone of speech, is kind of direct but kind of funny and amiable most of the time. But with corrupted Mike, I don't really have anything I do, because I feel like if I tried to find some kind of ritual or some kind of practice to get myself in the swing of what his corruption is, I mean, because his corruption is like intimidation based, it's like being a fucking asshole. Like I don't want to do anything to like become a better asshole, but I mean, I watch a lot of fights, I watch a lot of like, a decent amount of like action movies and stuff, and try to pay attention to when there are scenes. Do you guys do this thing now because you're like TTRPG player veterans, where like when you're watching movies, I mean, you've been playing for long enough that it's a part of you, but you're like watching movies and you're like just tallying like what their roles were?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I watched Fellowship of the Ring the other day, and the whole time I was just like, oh, they sucked on that roll.
Right. Well, I mean, that's one thing I pay attention to, I think, more now when I'm watching movies, particularly like action movies and stuff like that, is like, when do they make an intimidation check? And generally it's a very successful intimidation check, and that's good inspiration for me. Is like, it's how to more effectively and believably like say badass shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just keep my eye on that to try to increase my ability to say things that are intimidating in a convincing way and not sound like a dork.
And say you watching a lot of Carl Urban?
I think we're going to talk about some what we've been watching when we come back from the intermission.
Yep.
That's about that time, huh?
I think it's about intermission time. Good conversation on the corruptions. I mean, there's so much you could talk about with corruptions, but I also think we're kind of limited in that, like, I don't think any of us have really played that extensively with corruptions,
And certainly not in other gaming systems.
Right.
Right.
I think that it's definitely got my interest in them. I would like to explore different. I'm curious to see where it goes with Delta Green. I'm curious to see. I think in the chat, ERL was talking about Burning Wheel. Apparently has a pretty robust corruption system that's like actually built into
What is
player
that?
incentive.
I
A
don't even
Burning
know.
Wheel is like another TTRPG system.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more after the intermission.
Right. everybody go get yourself a drink, a refreshment.
Get your thinking caps on. We got some hard trivia questions
Yep.
tonight.
We
Yup.
do. And we've got listener questions coming up. So
Yeah. So
Yeah,
get those
so-
listener questions in there too.
You guys have right about, just like last time, 12 minutes.
12 minutes. See you in 12.
See you in 12.
And welcome back. I hope you got yourself a nice beverage or whatever you needed to do to make yourself have a good evening. Um, we're having a good evening, having some good discussions. If you're just joining us, I don't know. Uh, is that? Oh yeah, Emily has her giant combat boot things.
Her corruption boots.
Everybody, her
Bad bitch
corruption
boots.
Yeah.
There you
Bitch
go.
boots.
There you go.
Yeah, I hope everybody got a drink. We're into the kind of listener engagement portion of the show, or second half. But what do you got there, Heath? What are you cracking open?
Just a White Claw. I'm real basic tonight.
Is it a pumpkin spice flavored one?
No, it's not that basic.
Mine's close. I'm drinking a cinnamon milk stout.
Cinnamon milk snap.
I thought you were gonna say Snapple.
I
was
did
that
too.
sounds weird.
It's not a Snapple.
Cinnamon milk snapple.
It's a,
So a chai tea. Okay.
I mean, basically.
Oh, Scratch just said gross.
Gross.
Yeah, I've got an Arnold Palmer with vodka.
I believe that's called an Arnie Palmy.
An Arnie Palmy.
Annie Pammy.
I don't like it
Why is it called
Oh
that?
man.
because the
'Cause
man
it's
Arnold
cute.
Palmer.
No, the Arnie Pammy.
Oh,
Oh look, we got Old Scratch in here for the second half.
Oh, cool.
Oh look, we got Zach in here for the second half too. What's up, Zach?
Zito.
All of you other folks have been here with us all night. Hey, glad to have you. What's our segment tonight, Heath?
We're gonna talk for a couple minutes about what have you guys been watching lately?
Is this a segment? A seggy?
Oh,
Well, it's not a segue.
it's a Segisaurus Rex.
Wow.
Ugh.
Ooh, I can't wait to be done with this one.
I've been good. I've only let loose 2 awful puns so far.
Yeah, that's definitely the under.
Still got time. Yeah, but have you guys been watching anything notable? I haven't been watching a whole lot lately because I've had so much homework to
Expanse,
do.
the
for
new
school.
Yeah.
season of Expanse.
I haven't even started it. I haven't watched the second season of The Mandalorian. I haven't
Me
watched any
neither.
of that stuff.
But yeah, I've been watching the second season of The Expanse. I've been watching. Here's something on Netflix. There's a comedy special called Middleditch and Schwartz.
Oh, that's good.
I watched
Oh
all of
my.
that in one day.
Dude, I mean, I'm talking my belly hurt
Mhm.
after watching that. I was laughing just so constantly. It was just constant chuckles the whole time through,
I mean, both of those guys are just genius.
so the
It's
deal
John
is,
Ralphio.
yeah, so the deal is it's Benjamin Schwartz and Tom Middleditch, and they come out and they're doing a comedy show, so they're playing theaters as you would do, stand-up comedy in. But they're improvising a whole hour based on about 5 to 10 minute conversation with one of the audience members, and then they just go from there. And so there's 3 different ones that they recorded and released, and it is just, their chemistry is just so funny. And the funniest part about it is how they are
Switch
talking
characters all the time.
but they're talking to each other on a meta level in character to try to bring it all together, get through whatever they're making up. They're and my name is this, right? And your name is this. And it's so funny. And they just kill it.
And from
my
what
suggestion.
I understand, because I watched all of that the day it came out, actually, and I didn't even mean to. I didn't know about it coming out. I just happened to be on Netflix, and the new release, when it came out, I was like, well, that looks like, I love John Ralphio, so I'm sure I'll love this. But from what I understand, what they're doing is if you take improv classes, it's the first activity they introduce you to. It's one of the basic premises of how to get better at improv, but they've just mastered it.
Well, yeah, and they do a whole hour of it.
Right. Each one is an hour.
and it's real.
Like one of them is like a chaotic like wedding. And like all the characters in the wedding, the not only the bride and groom,
everybody,
like their family members that are in the audience.
Like them shuffling out and then like swapping back in with a weird posture to show that they're like the crazy grandmother or
it's really
it's
I'm
really
loose. Well done. Anyways, that's my recommendation.
That's the funniest thing to me about it is like how they move like locations and stuff to express like what character they are and how quickly and like on the fly they're able to do that. I mean, it's got vibes of like whose line is it anyways, but it's like so much more like rapid fire. And connected.
Well, and with less like prompts, they have this one conversation, and it's with an audience member, so you can imagine how that goes. Like it's kind of an awkward conversation, and then they develop an hour out of that. Anyway. So what are you watching, Heath?
Like I said, I haven't been able to watch many shows. I will say, and I don't mean to be a bummer, since John moved out, like I haven't been watching anything because I don't have anyone to watch things with. Like because the time of COVID plus John not living here anymore. Like if I'm gonna watch like a TV show, like a linear, episodic thing, like I cannot do it by myself. I don't enjoy it by myself. I need to like react to it with another person to really get the enjoyment out of it that I want. And like I'm the world's worst about like we could be watching say an episode of The Expanse. Like me and John watched the fourth season of The Expanse when he was still living here. And like fortunately John's very patient with me. But I'm the world's worst about like we'll get 5 minutes in and something big will happen and I will pause the episode and we're going to talk about this now for 5 minutes and then we'll unpause it and then keep going and then we're going to talk about this for 5 minutes. And me and him
I can't imagine why it's been difficult for you to find somebody to watch TV with.
Well, that's a dick comment. The number one factor is that it's fucking a pandemic, dude. Like people aren't seeing each other. But no, I mean, me and John are like such good friends like that we both do that when we're watching stuff together because we want to suss out lore and details in depth, like in the moment.
Right.
And we get a lot out of that as friends. And I mean, me and John work like that, like we build theoretical characters and stuff for Starfinder and stuff together, like all the time when he was living here. So yeah, I mean, like other than me apparently being a horrible person for pausing TV shows, like I haven't had anybody to engage with. I think that's for me, like media in general is meant to be consumed with friends. And like, I just don't have anybody to like really enjoy and watch things with. Now, if it's something, that's more like of an emotional bent or whatever that I can really get something out of by myself, that works. But if it was something big like Game of Thrones or The Expanse or whatever, like I want to be there with other people that are reacting viscerally to what's happening, even if we're not.
I get that. Yeah, I do get the like kind of emotional vampirism of like sharing an experience and like kind of making it feels more because you're feeding off of that with somebody.
Well, that's I've long believed like comedies aren't worth watching without a friend. Like I can't
to laugh with somebody.
I can't watch a comedy movie by myself. Like I can to go to sleep. Like I for about a year straight would put on The Ladies Man to go to sleep to every night. But I will say last night, like because the Saints lost and I was bummed out and I was half drunk, I went to sleep at like 9 o'clock, and I never do that. I'm such a night owl. But I woke up at like 2 a.m. and like obviously couldn't go back to sleep. And I like just looked for something to put on that would put me back to sleep. And I ended up watching the entirety of Dances with Wolves last night.
That's a long movie.
That's why I put it on, because I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to pass out during Dances with Wolves for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, watched all of Dances with Wolves and then started Cool Hand Luke.
Well, today I learned that Heath's viewing habits are very strange.
Yes.
But Emily, I think didn't you start a whole channel about your viewing habits?
I mean, she may have, but I haven't talked about how I've been rewatching.
You're just the producer, Josh. You're not the guest.
Fine.
Heath,
Fine.
shut him down. Shut him down. Heath.
No, I'm on Team Josh on this one. He didn't get his due, you know.
See, you guys are gonna regret this because I've been watching
I already
anime.
know. I already know.
Oh, what have you been watching?
Started watching ReZero,
Okay, I haven't
which
seen that.
it's one of those that
You did this, Heath.
yeah, you're welcome, Heath.
It's
Thanks.
fine. It's fine. I've got a follow up.
Yeah, so guy gets killed and wakes up in fantasy world, similar to like Sword Art Online or one of those
Okay.
what are they isekai,
Log
I think.
Horizon, go
Log
on.
Horizon.
Yeah.
It's a whole anime trope. Well, tons of series do this, but he's stuck in kind of a Groundhog's Day type thing, to where he goes through and gets brutally killed at the end of the first episode. Minor spoilers, and is trying to.
Minor.
You're supposed to say that before you say the
Whatever.
spoiler.
It's really not that big a deal. But he is basically doing like Edge of Tomorrow or Groundhog Day, or trying to figure out the right order of events to do stuff to be able to keep everybody alive, to be able to, get through it. It's been interesting so far.
Mm-hmm.
So like a new take on a kind of a classic trope.
Yeah. And aside from that, like I said, rewatching The Office. Haven't seen it since Netflix did DVDs and only DVDs, pre-streaming Netflix.
Wow.
I was watching clips of The Office today just on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's still really good. Like, I don't like Michael Scott as a character, but everything about
Dude,
the
Well,
show is
you're
just...
supposed to hate him.
Exactly. Like, I
As a
get it.
character, I think he's great. As a person, he's horrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
he is the cringe of that show.
Yeah.
Like,
That
that's
show
the
starts to
defining
suck when he's not there. Like,
Right.
It's not as good without him.
Wait, he leaves the show? I thought they stopped at that season.
Yeah, they do.
They
Don't
might
worry
as
about
well
it.
have.
Yeah, it's like How I Met Your Mother stopped at season, 8, 7, I think?
I don't know.
I
don't
will.
know.
I will say, speaking of anime, I got like 2 weeks ago, I think, I got real drunk. Like I was just like playing video games and smashed like a bunch of beers, and it got like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I decided in that moment I needed to watch Dragon Ball Z, and like and I got a Funimation account. I got the free 30-day trial just to watch it, and I put on 1 episode and passed the fuck out. And I've in that 2 weeks watched like 7 episodes. Like, it's not going to be worth even having the account, I just decided I had to have some Dragon Ball Z nostalgia.
Sometimes
in
you
that
need it,
moment,
man.
I think that was a very good drunk purchase. I think that was solid.
A drunk-free purchase.
Yes, exactly. Which is the best kind of purchase. Yeah, man. Watching stuff is great. In fact,
Yeah, so much so.
You made her transition into her own. I tried, Emily. Listen, I
I
tried.
appreciated it, Adam.
Heath let the Josh train through, and I'm not taking any responsibility for that.
Neither am I.
No, of course not. Why would you?
That's what I appreciate about you, Josh. No, I will totally segue myself. I'm pretty good at it.
No, that's a higher Patreon level, dude.
Oh,
Excuse
that's
me.
fair. No, yes, you're right. I started a thing. So we've been like joking about it for
I'm gonna need you to be more specific.
I'm gonna get there. It's called the build up, son.
Good Lord.
Anyways, y'all know how I ain't never seen no movies basically ever. We are rectifying that. I have started a YouTube channel. It's called Summerlin Creative. It's basically where my husband and I go through the list of I just looked, it's over 300 movies that I haven't seen.
It's a big list.
It's a big list. And it's like basically like culturally important or I guess pop culture, the films that everybody
It's stuff that you should have seen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like canonical, like American movie history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so far we have watched 17 movies. A lot of them are comedies because 2020 was rough. We started in November and we've got 17 videos up, and you can.
Yeah, you've really been crushing through those.
I've been trying to, because it's a big old list, and we're trying to make a dent.
What's
but-
been your favorite so far?
Oof. Oof.
What's your favorite comedy that you've watched so far?
Probably. Probably Hot Shots.
Hot Shots?
Yeah.
Have you seen part two?
Have you seen
I
part
have
two?
seen part two, and I liked the original slightly better because Lloyd Bridges' character is hilarious. Well, Lloyd Bridges is hilarious, but the bit about him tripping on a crab, like y'all for like weeks after we saw that fucking movie, I was just like, y'all know I am not the most graceful creature this side of anywhere.
This side of anywhere.
So I trip a lot, or I stumble, walk into shit, and I'm like, oh,
Even on Planet Clumsy, I'm the worst.
So yeah, I definitely like Hot Shots. That one was good.
What movie surprised you the most? Like,
Probably, I'm gonna say Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because I did not anticipate to get. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did.
I love that movie.
It's like really good. The other one that was just like so stupid, but I really appreciated it. Like it's good stupid. This Total Recall. Because Jesus, just y'all, if you've never seen it, go watch it. Get your ass to Mars. That's all I can say. Also, after I watched that, I got a shirt with Benny on it. It says, "Hey man, I got 5 kids to feed." It's the greatest shirt that I own. But Matthew and I have kind of been just sort of smashing through there. We're trying to do 2 videos a week. Release schedule is release a video on Sunday and Thursday. So we're just kind of plowing through that. You can find the channel on the YouTubes. You can just search for Summerlin Creative. And
Don't you have another channel now?
I do. If you want to see the list, there's actually a link to the list of all the movies on the channel, so you can go through there and see if anything's missing. The other thing that we're doing, and this is literally, I just recorded the first session today. I am doing a separate YouTube channel called Possummfox, where I will be doing video games, like do Let's Plays or kind of reviews, or, just kind of getting back into video gaming because life got crazy for a few years and I got real into TTRPGs and, am still. But I missed out on a lot of video games, so I'm trying to sort of get back into that and just kind of doing a playthrough of a few different, like, really big games, and then probably going to be dipping back into some of my old favorites.
What would those be?
Yeah. What did you?
We're all
said,
like, what? Tell us what it is.
Well, you said you just recorded the first one. Mm-hmm. So what video game are you playing in the first one?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, okay. What a great story in a mediocre game.
Because
I know, at me. I don't give a shit.
At me. Okay.
Trust me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm with that.
So far, my first 2 hours of gameplay, I think that either I am really, really terrible at this game, or I really need to go in and figure out what the fuck I'm doing with the controls, because obviously things are off. Like, I'm running into shit and people get mad at me.
Yep. You accidentally pull your gun in town and then you're wanted for 20 minutes.
I don't know how to ride a horse, apparently, which isn't fair because I do in real life. So, are
you playing with mouse and keyboard or controller?
Yeah, mouse and keyboard.
Because that game was built with a controller in mind. Just
it
fair
still
warning.
Sucks.
That's hot take.
I haven't played it, but
I played it. I hate the controls in that game.
Dude, I hate the game design.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be a hater because it is such a good story and it's a really pretty world. but like
the
it's
best
not
game
it's
I've
not
ever
fun to
watched.
play. It's
Yeah.
like well, it's to me it's like The Last of Us. I'd rather watch someone else play it than play it myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, so far, like you said, the visuals are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to just kind of dicking around and riding my horse places. But I was drawn to it because it sort of like the little bit of gameplay that I've seen, like Matthew's played it and I kind of watch over his shoulder a little bit. But like it gave me sort of like Cowboy Skyrim feels, and
I
Skyrim
see that.
and Dragon Age Inquisition were like my games for a hot minute. Like they were the ones, and still are the ones that I kind of go back and play periodically.
So
when
what are you
I'm
gonna
just
play
like,
after Red Dead? You said some old favorites.
I may dip back into play some. I'm thinking to do some stupid mods in Skyrim. And
Nice.
just run around and do
That'd be
stupid
fun.
shit.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Gotta get the Thomas the Tank Engine.
Of
replacing
course,
the dragons.
obviously,
Like
yes.
you can't not.
And Macho Man Randy Savage. May do some N64, like may pull out some Zelda, just because that was like my favorite. Like y'all know, I did like orchestral versions of Zelda music for my wedding. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
new. It's
sorry.
new
I did.
information.
If
Sorry.
you didn't know,
I wasn't invited to your
I
wedding.
did not go and was not invited to your wedding.
that
so
was before I knew you guys.
that's not our fault.
That's not
like
an
a
excuse.
decade ago.
I was available to be known this whole time.
I fucking love weddings. Like, I live for weddings, just not my own.
Okay. Well, if we have a vow renewal thing, I'll totally holler at y'all.
And I'll get good and drunk.
Good and drunk.
good and drunk.
But no, it's just we're
Well,
doing
how's
fun
it-
shit on YouTube.
Yeah, how's that been? Like, what's that experience been so far? What's the response been? How, aside from what content you're consuming, how's it been making content, consuming content?
I have been honestly shocked by the reception that we had. I was expecting people to be horrible. The internet is rough, and I was just like, we're putting ourselves out there, anticipate the worst in people. And it's been sort of the opposite,
I mean, yeah, if the community of Southern Tomfoolery is any indication of how shitty the internet is,
It's a wonderful
Dude,
place.
I'm gonna need you to back the fuck up.
See, no,
I love you
here's
guys. I'm just kidding.
well,
this is
initially
my show, Adam. I don't need that kind of vibe on here.
initially I was like, it'll be fine. All of our awesome listeners for podcast are amazing. And then I was like, Emily, this is going to be a very broad spectrum.
Yeah, you're
of
going
people.
to YouTube. It's a different world. Yeah.
And this is just, movie reactions. It's not a specialized format like TTRPGs. Like it's a niche group, that we're in. But YouTube is, shotgun. And I was scared, but people have been majority really nice. And the ones who have been assholes, it's just like, they're obviously trolls. Like if you misspell the word "the," I
It's
mean,
over. I'm done.
I'm gonna let you know.
I'm-
Your grammar is wrong. I'll let you know.
Well, where can we find these things?
just hop over to the YouTubes. I think we'll drop a link in the Discord at some point. But just literally YouTube and search Summerlin Creative.
Yeah. And if you're watching this on YouTube now, then there will be a link below.
Cool.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, please go ahead and subscribe. Yeah, you like
Go
that?
ahead and smash that subscribe.
Smash that button.
Smash.
All that.
Smash that
that
subscription
subscribe.
button and hit that bell to get
All right,
notifications.
look. I gave you this opportunity, and now you're just like shitting all over my kindness.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do best.
Heath, you open the door to these two jokers tonight.
You knew this. You know this, man.
Heard. Yeah, no, I mean that's cool. In all honesty, it's awesome to see that you've had some success with your reaction movie video channel, and I wish you well on your video game channel. I hope that isn't more toxic, but I don't trust the video game world out there. But I really do hope it goes well for you, and I'm glad you've done as well as you have so far. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I think it's about time for some trivia.
Ooh, we got the trivia. We got some tough questions for you guys tonight. Just a quick reminder how this works. We do 3-month rounds. All right. And so we total up points over 3 months of TOMTalks. And at the end of each of those 3 months, we'll do a giveaway to the person that has the most points. I can't remember if we allowed 2 people to score or if it was just the first person. I think it's just the first person.
It's first person.
First person to write the answer in the Twitch chat will get a point. We have an easy question. We have a medium question. Oh, it is the first 2. It is the first 2. We're getting it from the chat. They would know better than us. We just run the show.
That's true.
So the first 2, and there's going to be a 10-second time for you to answer the question. Easy, medium, hard. Let's go ahead and get started. The easy question tonight. Heath, do you want to ask it?
Yeah, I was gonna ask all of them.
Okay.
It's his show and all.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, it just gets so complicated when nobody knows who's asking. We'll just go over back and forth for 10 minutes. It's like watching a TV show with me.
Wait, pause. We're doing trivia questions. We need to talk about that right now.
The classic self-burn. Okay, yeah, our first question, the easy level question for the evening. And I mean, I think the fact that this is the easy question should give you some indication as to how difficult they're going to be.
They're all Ziva related.
Tonight. Yeah, and all of them are Ziva related because Emily is the guest tonight.
She should ask the question.
We catered to her. All right, see what I mean?
Hold on. There's trivia tonight?
Pause.
We
need to talk about this.
Discuss this. Sorry, Heath. Do go on.
Go ahead. This is also how Thursday nights normally go too.
Can't trust you people as far as I can throw you. Okay, the easy question. First question. Everybody get your typing fingers ready. On which planet did Ziva spend her enslavement?
10 seconds. Here we go.
And I'll repeat the question.
It's posted on the thing too.
Look at this producer. Killing it. I'm not going to repeat it then. Just read
We've got Nusheo says Akaton. BPT says Planet Hulk.
Old Scratch says
Johnson
Akaton.
with an Akaton. We got Eggs to go with an Akaton. Sorry.
God damn it.
Sorry, we have our first 2. Akaton is not right. Akaton. Old Scratch Johnson and Nusheo both get a point. Mark it down, Josh.
Yep.
All right.
Right. Congratulations. All right. Our second question, the medium tier question for tonight. In what order did Madame Ziva speak to the Epic Tracer crew in episode 1? Going all the way back to episode 1.
Ooh.
First
How did she
assembled-
collect the ETC?
Right. When she first assembled the crew, in what order did she meet them?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
This is the medium question.
This is the medium question.
We'll give you a little extra time.
little
on
extra
this
time.
one.
Yeah, because you have 4 names to type out, so.
All right, we have our first submission. Mike
hello.
Zeno Fell Oren. We have from Old Scratch Johnson. We have BP Tart with Mike Oren Zeno Fell. Eggs with Mike Fell Zeno Oren. Nusheo with Mike Zeno Oren Fell. I'm going to go ahead and say that nobody has got
All
the
of
answer
those are
correct
wrong.
yet.
Every one of those is wrong.
Every single one of those.
Can I give him a hint?
No.
No. Fuck no. You sweet, kind soul.
I want people to get points.
Can I give him a hint, though?
How many seconds we got left here? Give them a hint, and then we'll give you 10 seconds more.
Mike
After the
isn't
hint.
first.
Mike isn't first is the hint. All right, we have some new submissions here. We've got from Buster
we got
Knuckle,
one.
Orin, Fell, Mike, Zeno. We have one from X to Go. Fell again. Zeno, Fell, Mike. We have Old Scratch, Fell, Orin, Mike, Zeno. Nusheo, Fell, Orin, Mike, Zeno. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Only one of you is going to get the points here. And Buster Knuckle, you are the winner in this medium question.
This one, I will say, I understand it can be a little confusing because the way that we recorded the first episode, I could see you thinking that Orin and Fell were switched.
Orin answered
the door.
Yep. Because Fell was elbows deep in the Epic Tracer, and Orin was just sitting there on his ass reading a book.
Orin was being an asshole trying to make Fell answer the door so he could keep reading his Louis L'Amour novel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What a dick.
Yeah. So good job. Good job, Buster. That's why we named a drink after you in world, because you know what's up. So that's a point for Buster. Mark it on the board. Gosh. Okay. That was the medium question, y'all. Hard question, Heath. What do we got?
Okay. This one is tough. You really needed to have paid attention to some not the direct main story stuff. The hard question, last one of the evening. What are the names of Madame Ziva's head of security and head of personnel?
I'll even give you a hint. One is a Shabbat and one is a
Keshti.
Lizard.
Lizard. A little lizard.
We got our first answer in here. We got Oh Fuck from Eggs. That's his. We've got Nuche with Etrim and Uli. We've got Old Scratch Johnson with Etrim and Uli. That's it. We have two correct answers there.
Damn,
Etrim and Uli is correct. Nice
so proud of
job. Maybe that should have been the medium question. I don't know. We don't know.
Lil Mike and Mama Babushka.
Little Ike and Mama Babushka. Yeah.
And now I can't wait for Adam to bring in like a dwarf version of Mike.
Oh God.
Lil Mike.
Lil Mike.
He's short and mouthy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was trivia. Good job. I think Nuche and Old Scratch kind of pulling away with the lead for this one here. But there's always next month. And we don't know who the guest is. And we're not going to tell you because we're not going to give you an opportunity to know these answers. You just got to already know.
And also because we haven't planned anything yet for the next one. All right. So last up, man, one of the things we look forward to so much here at Tom Talks Alive every time, we got our listener questions segment.
It looks like everybody tuned in for this part. Like we have our most viewers right now for listener questions. So there's some burning questions out there, I must expect,
Yeah, and while we're asking these, by all means, continue submitting more if you haven't already.
Give me your questions.
All right, so first one, big surprise, comes from Bipolar Pop Tart. What kind of corruptions do you think would make you develop as a person?
Ooh.
Like for your character, if your character had a corruption.
What corruptions would make you develop as a person?
Yeah, like say you're role playing a character that has a certain type of corruption. What type of corruption would make you, Heath, be a more fulfilled, fleshed out, developed, whatever person?
Yikes.
Somebody else. Save me.
Role playing someone with a selfish corruption, I think, could make you the person a lot more self-aware. Because as a human who has had issues with setting boundaries and saying no to people, I think that having a kind of corruption for your character that makes you be more selfish, more, self-aware, would make you reflect as a person like, oh, you know what? This character is taken care of. YOUME. I should also do that for me. Yeah.
And this is why it's dangerous to bring corruptions to your table.
No, man.
No, I'd say one that deals with anger and or confrontation. I'm generally not a very outspoken, angry person.
You just need my corruption.
So, well, yeah, I mean, that might help me grow as a person because that's not something that I typically do. So to have an outlet to do that or to force me to do that might help me somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
To experience something that I don't usually do.
I think for me, something that highlighted a negative aspect of my own personality, if I saw that kind of play out a little bit more viscerally and like, oh, well, I'm just playing a character, but then I actually see some of the consequences of some of that would probably help me as a person try to avoid that type of behavior in real life. So, you know, for me, making sure not to get too involved in my own ego or my own expectations, those type of corruptions would make me face those things about myself in a more real way. I think that would help me grow as a person, kind of seeing what happens if you indulge in those, you know.
I think for me, like, this is actually something I've thought about, maybe making a character eventually. It would at least be a challenge for me and my play style, and probably be pretty humbling, would be to play a coward, like a character who is decidedly a coward, you know. Not that I'm like the bravest man in the world, but I play pretty gruff characters a lot of the time, very forward characters a lot of the time. So someone who's corrupted to be afraid, you know. I don't often like play that archetype of the person who's actually like terrified of the situation going in.
What about it?
Good question.
Yeah.
So
Turtle Mike.
a second
Turtle
question
Mike.
from, I'm assuming this is pronounced Earl, but it's ERRRLLL.
Yeah, I think his Discord name is ERL.
ERL. Okay.
Yeah.
But they ask, are there systems or settings you feel have better tools for playing with corruption mechanics? And I'm just gonna, I guess, answer for all of us in that we don't really have enough experience in other systems that have corruption mechanics to really make a call.
Yeah.
This is our first deep dive into true corruption mechanics. Now, we've all played Curse of Strahd, which has a dark gift type of deal, but that's late game, and it's not.
And everyone doesn't have to take it,
Exactly.
Right, and it's not necessarily a whole system of mechanics. It's more like, here's a one-time kind of deal, you know.
And it's fairly even keel, you know, one bad thing, one good thing kind of type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I just got so distracted by a comment that we are
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to talk about.
Yeah.
We're not asking that one, Egg.
He knew that.
You were
He
right.
knew that. Yeah,
We'll
he
answer
knew.
that one later in Discord.
I mean, I'm just going to say no. No is the answer to that question. Anyway.
Another one from Bipolar Pop Tart. How do you combat systemic corruption, like bribing the GM with cookies?
Oof.
I don't. I try to use systemic corruption to my advantage every single time that I can.
Likewise.
I bought Adam 2 Christmas presents. You know.
Oh, is this meant to be a bribe? I have to put
No,
that
but
in my ledger.
it certainly couldn't
Put
hurt.
it in your
You know?
ledger.
It certainly couldn't hurt anything.
I have to put it in my influence ledger. I didn't realize that.
I do want to say I got Adam 2 Christmas presents because it astounded me that him being the guy that got us into Starfinder, that's run us through all of this adventure so far. Adam didn't have any physical copies of the Starfinder books, so I got him I do air quotes, the pocket character operations manual. I don't know whose pockets they're talking
Yeah,
about.
this
That's
is
not
the
fitting
pocket.
in a damn
This is the
pocket.
pocket. It's the size of my fucking head.
What the hell?
This is
Yeah.
a pocket.
And that's a good sized book.
But like, I'm glad it's this size. Like, if I had known that this was the size of the pocket editions, this is what I would have been getting all along.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. I actually prefer this to the hardback. It's still readable, and I don't know, like, I like it. I like this
I'm glad
size.
you liked it.
cute.
I felt kind of bad. I was like, I hate that I'm skimping on the pocket version, but it's all the games.
But I did get the hardcover of this, which is my favorite additional
nice.
book that Starfinder has put out. I think this is
Well,
the best book number 2 that you should get personally.
no, it is. I mean, the core rule book and the character operations manual are the core rule book. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that those two combined are what the core rule book always should have been.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Not that I'm hating on like Starfinder, but like they make the base game, in my opinion.
So much fuller. Yeah.
But I will say, because I got you the pocket version, that allowed me to justify getting you the character operations manual.
Well, I have the 2 physical books that I would want to have in these, and this is what I would recommend to anybody just starting Starfinder. This is it right here.
I would add the Pact Worlds if you really like lore.
Yeah, that's
book
but
is
that's
so good.
you don't need it to play.
You don't need it to play, but like especially if you're wanting to do homebrew and like go to any of the Pact Worlds locations, get that book. It's so good.
Yeah.
Word.
All right, next question.
Next
it
question is a question for Emily. Do you have
Nice.
any
She's the
tips
guest.
for someone playing an envoy, specifically a Skittermander envoy?
Oh.
It's from Buster Knuckle.
I've got advice, but you go ahead.
I would say, so for me, it's difficult because like I pretend to be more confident than I am. So, and I think that's like the whole envoy thing, is just a lot of confidence. And if you don't, just fake it till you make it. For a Skittermander specifically, I would say definitely have fun with them and kind of lean into the Skittermander
Helpfulness.
exactly, like almost to helpful, almost to a detriment to others, you know. I love that lore around the Skittermanders and I would absolutely lean into it. I mean, I would just wreck some people with that and it would be so great. What were you thinking, Heath?
Use your advantages as you're given them, correct? Like for any character you're playing, use what you're good at. Use what, even if that includes just the lore, like not mechanics. And to me, the number one asset of playing a Skittermander is that you are cute AF. Use that cuteness to your advantage, like puppy dog eye people. You know, like just max cuteness 100% of the
Tell
time.
him to get them with all 6 arms.
Yeah, and when
And make as many 6-arm jokes as you possibly can.
and when all of that fails, get you some bad bitch boots.
Watch Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, that honestly will help.
Another question from Bipolar Pop Tart that I actually really like. What kind of corruption would you do for an evil party? Something that like them gaining a conscience?
Ooh.
Well,
I'd say this is probably mostly for Adam.
You make them have the same thing that a Skittermander does. They're helpful to a fault.
so, listen, Eve, I don't want to get into a whole thing, but evil is not so polar as all that. You know what I mean? Like you can still corrupt somebody who's evil in a very similar way that you would corrupt somebody who's good, because you're corrupting them in a way for them to act different from how they would. And an evil person can act righteously if they think what they're doing is righteous, even if it's evil, you know.
Just the scariest kind of
Yeah.
evil.
What's that classic thing of like everyone is the hero of their own story?
Yeah, and like so the shadow party is a great example of that. You know, it's like they have very good reasons for the motivations that they have, you know, but like if I made them still susceptible to, well, let's not use the shadow party, but let's say an evil person still susceptible to bright light, making them not very good at what they do, that's still a corruption. Or like I could put that on the intimidation one, on the evil one, that it just forces them to go further into their their characteristics than they would normally do. An evil person can be controlled and calculated. It's not some, doesn't mean that they're just kind of blase, want to kill everything. You know,
evil does not mean murder hobo.
Right. The most evil is usually very calculated and controlled, you know, and so a corruption would distort that and would throw wrenches in that. So I wouldn't change a lot of how I would approach it. I wouldn't make them do good things. Like, I don't think it's, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think corruption means opposite of your alignment. That's not what corruption means. It means corrupting what you would do by enhancing your worst traits, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and like you mentioned the intimidation type corruption or whatever. If you have like a Randall Flagg character, a Severus Snape character, and then they have to like intimidate people at every chance they can, well, that's not how they normally would work, and that's not how they're normally as effective at what we view as being evil. Right? So I hear you. I agree with your sentiment there, because like it is easy. It's weird because we pigeonhole evil in a way that we don't necessarily pigeonhole good. Right.
Good has all these different
nuance,
expressions and nuance, and evil is just, oh, well, fuck everybody. Well, no, I mean, I think that there's a lot more room on the spectrum for an evil person to be in a good aligned party than it seems at first blush, you know, because evil kind of roots in selfishness more than, you know, necromancy or eating the flesh of their enemies, you know, like, yeah, that's extreme, like kind of shock value evil, but you can be evil while thinking that you're doing the right thing, you know?
Well, and I would argue almost always that is the case. I mean, like your, you know, crazy cannibalistic psychopaths or whatever, that's the extreme exception to the rule for when you really think about like what drives people to do evil things, right? Well, and that's the inherent nature of alignments being a little bit problematic, because like somebody might be doing an evil thing one day and be doing a good thing the next, you know?
I mean, Gloombot's only eaten a couple of people. Doesn't make him like really that bad.
He can eat.
He's tried.
I didn't like it very much. It's overrated.
Okay.
It was like a whole thing.
I mean, I guess.
Like Buster Knuckle made the point. Lex Luthor is a great example of calculated evil. Like, yes, he does evil things quite often. It's generally to benefit himself, to gain power. It's not he's just like slitting people's throats.
Yeah, if I corrupted Lex Luthor, if I corrupted Lex Luthor with a corruption that made him compelled to, like, you know, eat the flesh of every person he meets, he would no longer be effective as Lex Luthor. You know, he'd have a lot of problems doing what he was going to do. So anyway.
Yeah. So another question. Tyler of MinMaxed asks, have you all rolled up your Fly Free or Die characters already? And are you willing to divulge any sneak peeks?
This is tricky, right?
Yeah.
Before anybody says anything, I just want to say this is tricky. No one feel pressured to reveal anything you don't want to. I will say for my own part, I've had an idea. I started playing around with builds. I have not locked anything in. But I mean, like, you guys say whatever you want to say. I don't mind revealing something like the class I intend to play.
I can tell you, I don't know shit.
I'm reluctant to give too much info away now, and not really to protect it from a spoiler standpoint, but we're still in the very early stages.
Like, what
of
if you
putting this
change your
together.
mind, right?
Yeah. And like, you know, anything that we would say now, it's not locked in. We haven't had our session 0. We haven't had our session -1 about this. We're right now just excited about the concept of it and talking about how, you know, what's the logistics of it? How are we going to do this? What kind of mode and tone are, you know, we're giving Zach the opportunity to read the first 3 books of the AP first before we really commit to anything. And then he's going to give us the input that's necessary for us to make characters that will fit this campaign, and we've said it before in TOMTalks and GM happy hours and everything, but the importance of knowing the tone of the campaign and that being involved in the character creation is paramount. And we are going to take our time to make sure that Zach has a good enough grasp of the overarching story to guide us to build a party that makes sense for this adventure, so we can make the best party for the adventure and make something that we'll all enjoy playing for 6 books of it. This will be our first 6-book adventure where we're with this character, hopefully, for an entire 6 books of story. So
it is a big decision.
Yeah, I will say, as Heath said, he has a class he's leaning towards. I have a class I'm leaning towards, but none of this is in stone. I've been wanting to play a Solarian since I opened the book of Starfinder, so that is kind of what I'm defaulting to, but I don't know if that's what I'm going to land on. If I'm going to land on the character that speaks to me the most once I get more information about the campaign.
Yep.
Yeah. And I will say, I'm glad Adam did at least give you some idea of where his thought process is as far as like class selection, so you don't feel like you didn't get anything out of this question. And I'll give you a little bit too. Like I think I'm a little more sure of my class decision than even Adam is. But I will say this is not a promise. Like, this is not a promise. Something could happen and I could just find another build that I absolutely love, and that's what I go with. But I am very heavily leaning towards playing a mechanic. So try to make the weirdest mechanic I can.
I will say we're all very, very excited to play this adventure. And, I mean, to the point to where I constantly battle with myself. Oh, well, what if we just lower the Patreon goal to 500, but we can't? Like, there's literally like a financial reason,
right?
Why we have it set at that, and like it's already as low as it can go. So, but we are very anxious and very excited to play this adventure. So
I'll even do you one better. Paul asked drone or Cortex mechanic, and I'll tell you right now, I never will and never have had any interest in playing a Cortex. I want a drone. I want a pet class.
Heath wants that extra role in the initiative. That's Heath's game right there. All right, cool. Next question.
I think this may be the last question of the night, from another one from Bipolar Pop-Tart. For Emily, if you could switch out Ziva for one character in a movie that you've watched so far for your YouTube channel, who would it be, and why is it John Connor from Terminator 2?
Well, it's been great being here tonight. Thank you guys so much.
I do have a question.
John Connor or Sarah Connor?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He wrote John Connor.
Yeah.
Okay.
He meant John because I disliked the actor who played that.
That's a reference to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to answer Buster Knuckles' question that he put just in there, because I do feel strongly about this. Buster Knuckle asked, would Adam suggest Against the Aeon Throne as an AP for a beginner group? And I 100% think it is the beginner AP for Starfinder.
Don't do Dead Sons.
Well, yeah, like that's obvious. I think we've beat that to a pulp. I think, please don't do Dead Sons. I agree. Like, if you didn't know, we don't think that that's a good AP. Against the Aeon Throne, it's not. Here's the one thing I will say about it: it doesn't give you the whole breadth of weirdness that is Starfinder. Like there's not a lot of weirdness to it, but it is a great intro with difficulty level, with having a clear-cut enemy, with having a very tight and only 3-book adventure. So it's a good one to start with. And if they like that, they can either go to Single Screams, or you could start over with another AP that's the full 6-book deal. But I think Aeon Throne is by far the best one to start with on Starfinder. By far.
I just
My
wanna,
one reason for that,
sorry.
clear cut enemy.
Yeah, you know exactly from the get go what the deal is. You know, and there's no question if you're doing the right thing or not. These are space Nazis. You're going after them. Fuck them up.
Yeah.
You know, and the first book is really cool because it gives the party an opportunity to get to know themselves, and you have this nice tight little mini sandbox that gives everybody we can go do this thing first, or we can go do this thing. So you have all this great player choice involved in it. You have a nice little small group of NPCs. It's a great introductory module or adventure for GMs because it's not terribly difficult to run. You know, at least book 1, book 2 is a little tough with the prison, but you can figure it out. I promise. And I really do think that that's the best one to start with.
Paul asks over Dawn of Flame. I know you guys don't have any way to answer that. I have read Dawn of Flame, and as much as I still eventually would love to run Dawn of Flame, it didn't kind of pan out the way I wanted to, but it's always a potential in the future. But I will say, having read Dawn of Flame, like for a new party, like, yeah, I still think Against the Aeon Throne is probably my pick for how to start. That said, I think that's not a bad choice. That's not a bad second. Dawn of Flame could be it can be very exciting for a new party.
I think Dawn of Flame might be the one you might want to bring your fantasy table to. If they're a little reluctant about the sci-fi elements of it, I think Dawn of Flame might help bridge that gap because it's a little bit more like, I mean, and I only know just a general, but from what Heath and I have talked about and what I know about Dawn of Flame is that it has a big dive into the science fantasy part of Starfinder, whereas Aeon Throne is a little bit more traditional kind of.
It is. Dawn of Flame has a lot going for it. And if you want to go back to talking about creativity within constraints as an AP, I think that is nail on the head what Dawn of Flame is, because the whole thing takes place on or in the sun.
Right.
You don't go anywhere else in that whole AP, and they do so much with it. I love the concept of that AP. So like, I don't think that's a bad choice at all. But I would say if you want just like the easiest one to drop a new group into, and they're not going to get like too overwhelmed, and they'll get a little bit of time to figure out who they are as players, go Against the Aeon Throne.
I think that's it, huh, Josh? That's it? Yeah.
No, we had one more just come in.
Where is that? Oh yeah, actually,
in the stream chat.
Egg just asked a question a couple minutes ago. How would Fel, Mike, and Ziva handle a corrupt politician trying to extort them both pre and post corruption? I'm gonna go ahead and answer for Fel because, like I've said earlier, Fel's corruption has not yet affected his personality. He'd handle it the exact same way, just a little bit less charismatically because he now looks a little bit funky. I mean, that's sorry for like kind of a non-answer, but where he is at time of recording this, that's all I've got.
Well, pre?
The same way. I mean,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
You know, there would be no difference between the two.
What about Mike?
I think that answer's the same, whether corrupted or not. You come at Mike like that, he's going to knock you out, dude. Get out of here. You think Mike won't just hit somebody? He will.
I will. I'll just hit
He
you.
will.
Well, let's be honest. Ziva would probably be the one extorting the politician, like, you know, and beforehand she would probably use some kind of, you know, blackmail back at them. After, she would probably just go and handle business physically.
Cut their dick off.
Cut their dick
cut their
off.
wings
I was
off, yeah.
trying to be a little more PC about it.
Ziva
but-
said knock you out. No, I love that concept though of like, if let's see, like you said, you know, Ziva would be the one extorting the politician. Let's say that's not the case. The politician comes and tries to extort Ziva. It's like, this is the woman that has the dirt on everybody. Like, you picked the wrong one. Like, have you ever been to the pools and done anything weird and diddled anything?
She knows.
Have?
Shit.
She's
Fel,
the one.
Realistically, Fel would probably like, hold on a second. I'll be right back and go call Ziva.
Yeah, I mean,
Madam
I got
Ziva's the
you,
one
babe.
that's going to release that Lady G dossier. I think that's it. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this has been a good episode. You had a lot of good questions. I appreciate all the input. Good. I appreciate you being here, Emily. Josh,
Well, thanks for joining us for
you
part
no longer
two
have
here.
a choice. You know,
I'm here to stay.
Adam's been living without a choice since the beginning. But yeah, it's been a good one. If that's it? I mean, if any of you got anything else to say that you'd like to say to the fans before we get out of here, before we say those famous words?
I really do love you guys. Thank you for
Yes.
being here.
Well, I love you too, Adam.
guys. And
Oh, wait, are you
love,
talking to the
I
listeners or
love
us?
you guys.
Yeah, I love you too, Josh.
Oh.
Oh,
That's
You broke him.
fine, I
you
guess.
broke him. Oh, you sent him into gloom mode.
Gloom.
No, this has been awesome, guys. Thank y'all. I love hanging out anytime I can.
Nice. Well, Paul, I see your comment. Thanks for being able to make it, man. I'm glad we caught you. But if that's it, guys, there's only one thing left to say.
Yep.
We'll see you.
We'll see.
We'll
you.
see ya.
See ya. Bye.